Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari and today we're doing a special class on Lord Narasimha Deva. So today, in celebration of Nrsimha Chaturdasi, which is approaching, we're doing a class where we're going to be talking about Lord Narasimha Deva. We're going to be saying who he is, his story, his importance, and everything else you need to know to understand. And this class is for beginners, and there'll be some interesting stuff for the more advanced crowd as well. Okay, so before we get started, when we're talking about an avatar of Lord Vishnu, we have to make an explanation for those who don't understand the culture very well. So in Vedic culture, we have an amazing topic which is called monotheism, but polymorphic. So polymorphic monotheism. That's very important for you to understand. What does that mean? Let's break that down. Mono, one, theism, God. There is one God. So the Vedic view is that there is one God, just like in the Bible and the Quran and the Jewish tradition. So there's one God, monotheism. And then people say, oh, but isn't Hinduism a polytheistic tradition? No. What happens is that in what we call Hinduism, you also have the concept of the nature gods, which we had all over the world, in ancient Greece and Rome, etc., and Africa and, everywhere, the Scandinavian countries. We have that concept as well. We have both concepts existing together, but the many gods of nature, like we had, again, in Roman culture and Greek culture, those are nature gods. Those are actually incarnations. Those are actually physical incarnations. These are souls who are incarnating in that body. So they're gods with a small g, and they themselves are devotees of God with the big G. The one God, the Supreme Lord. Now, so there is just one God, but this one Supreme God manifests himself in endless forms. So polymorphic, many, morphic forms. So we have many forms of God. So God is one, but he manifests himself in different forms. This is interesting because a lot of times there's some cultures that say, no, you can't define God, because to define God is to limit God. Well, not in this concept of polymorphic monotheism, because God isn't defined, he isn't restricted to one form. He can assume endless forms, and he has endless abodes of God. Because again, why would you make the abode of God just be one place? So God has many abodes, many forms, many different personalities he can assume with different kinds of worshipers and devotees who go there. And so today we're studying one of these many forms of the one God, this beautiful form of Lord Narasimha Deva. So let's talk about his story. So we have to go way back. I'm going to take you way back here. So if you study Vedic culture, you understand that the universe, the way the universe is described, goes a bit like this. So in God from one of these forms of God called Mahavishnu, billions of universes emanate from his pores. And in each one of those universes, God manifests another form of himself, another Vishnu form. And from that Vishnu form, inside that specific universe, comes the first created being of the universe. And his name is Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is this first being. He can be a soul like you and me. So souls can assume that position. So it's a created being within the material universe, but he's the first one. So Lord Brahma comes into being in the beginning of each universe, because the universes are cyclical. The time is cyclical in Vedic. So like universes are created, maintained, destroyed, created, maintained, destroyed. So anyway, so in this cycle, when it's being created, Lord Brahma comes. Now, so Lord Brahma came, and when he came, he has this responsibility. Lord Brahma is like the CEO of the universe. He's like in charge. He's the general manager, the CEO. He has to make things work. So he's got the responsibility of making sure that the universe gets populated with all the different types of creatures so the souls can have their experiences, their karmic experiences. Now, so Lord Brahma gets started, and he has the ability, because he's on his own, of course, so he has the ability to create the first beings out of his body and out of his mind. So first thing he does, he creates 4 beings, which became known as the 4 Kumaras. But the reason why they're called Kumaras is because what happened is, so he created these 4 beings, these great 4 Kumaras, but he wanted them to help him in procreation and in expanding, so there'd be more and more beings in the universe. But these 4 beings, they quickly realized they were very advanced spiritually, they were very wise, and they came to the conclusion that, you know what, this whole thing about growing up, becoming an adult, having responsibilities, no, this is way too much trouble. It's just doesn't make any sense. We're just gonna focus on philosophy and spirituality. So we know what we're going to do. We're going to stop our growing at the age of 5. So they prematurely stopped their development with a body of a 5-year-old. That's what they called Kumara. So they're the 4 children, the 4 Kumaras. They froze their growing pattern with a 5-year-old body. So they couldn't get married and have children and get involved with all those difficulties of doing that. So Lord Brahma was very angry, and from that anger Lord Shiva came out of his 3rd eye, but that's another story. But the point is, so these 4 Kumaras, they're like in these little 5-year-old forms, but they're extremely wise. They're great sages of the universe, and they're so advanced that eons and eons later, they managed to approach the gates of the abode of God, the gates of heaven, as it were. So these 4 little sages, they're approaching the gates of heaven, and then there were these doormen, there were these, like bouncers at the door of the abode of God, and their name was Jaya and Vijaya. And as they were approaching, Jaya Vijaya said, "Whoa, excuse me, I'm not sure you're supposed to be here. You're from the material world, and this is the abode of God. I don't think you've got the whole, you don't have clearance." And these sages, they were like great brahmana, great sages, so they were kind of proud, because they were the first sages of the universe. They are amazing, so, they had a little bit of pride left in them. And so they get angry. They say, who are you? What do you think? How can you stop us? And so they got angry, and Jaya Vijaya were like, well, I don't, so there was this conflict. And then the Lord God appears himself. Lord Vishnu appears with Lakshmi Devi by his side and says, what's going on here? And Jaya Vijaya like, oh Lord, I'm sorry, but these guys were trying to crash into heaven here, and and we didn't know. So, and then the 4 Kumaras like, what is this? It's like, they're like, oh my God, it's God. But there was this conflict. So anyway, Lord Vishnu, he kind of arranged the whole trouble. And Lord Vishnu said to Jaya and Vijaya, who were his servants, who were transcendental beings, he said, yeah, look, you guys kind of screwed up a bit, didn't you? Because, these are 4 great sages. You could have let them through. You could have talked with them. You didn't do well. So here's the punishment. You choose. And he did it on purpose. He made it like a really obvious choice. He said, look, either you're going to have to go down to the material world as punishment, because you were too proud here, you didn't do a good job here as my bouncers. So look, you've got 2 choices. You can take 7 births in the material world as a good, great sage, or you can take 3 births as very heavy-duty, evil asuras. So they were like, because for them to go down the material world, it's like, material world is really bad. We're here, we think it's kind of okay, but it's really not okay. It's really awful. We just don't know how awful it is because we're so deluded, but it's really awful being here. And they knew that. They were like, oh my God, the material world is so disgusting. So they were like, yeah, 3, 7, no, thank you very much, I'll take the 3. So they take the 3. So this is, of course, all an arrangement by Krishna, because Krishna needed to have these really heavy-duty bad guys so he could come in and be the hero. You know, when these avatars come, it's a bit of theater. It's called Leela. It's a bit of theater. It's cosmic theater. You know, it makes it look good, and the stories are good, and then people direct their attention to God and His teachings, and then they get to become spiritualized and elevated. So there's a bit of theater involved. So for good theater, you need, God's going to be the hero. What do you need to have a good hero? You need a really good bad guy, right? You can't have a good hero if you don't have a really good, like the better the worse or the better the bad guy is, the better the hero can be. So Krishna made this arrangement to have like his special, kind of like almost like they were like being avatars themselves, like these special avatar bad guys. So they come down. And the first birth that Jaya and Vijaya have as avatar bad guys is as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And their names are kind of funny, interesting. Hiranya is gold or lustrous or brilliant. Yaksha means eyes or vision. So Hiranya, golden eyes. And Hiranyakashipu means like Lord. Kashipu means like Lord. So it could be like radiant Lord or gold Lord, something like that. So these two are born, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. And now, of course, and they're like super bad guys. They're uber bad guys. So these uber bad guys, they come down, and first Hiranyaksha starts making a giant mess of the cosmos, and he knocks the whole planet Earth out of orbit. He's like on that level of bad guy. So then there's an avatar that comes down to deal with him, a Vishnu avatar called Varaha. It's the boar. Varaha means boar. So, with the tusks, the boar. So Varaha avatar comes down, deals with him, kills him, puts the earth back in place. And that makes Hiranyakashipu extremely, because they're already they came as God haters, they came as anti-theists. But then Hiranyakashipu becomes especially detestful of Vishnu because he just killed his brother in the form of Varaha. So Hiranyakashipu becomes extra angry and extra willing to he wants to kill God. So Hiranyakashipu, they were already extremely powerful beings, but Hiranyakashipu decides, okay, I'm going to really prepare myself. So he goes into severe, profound meditation and pranayama exercises. He's because he knows that all power comes from tapas. So he's going to strengthen him. He's already super powerful, but he's going to become extra super powerful through yoga. So he starts doing this very hardcore yoga. Do not try this at home. He's controlling prana. We say prana. People think prana is like breathing, like air. But no, prana actually means energy. So it's not just about, the act of breathing in or out. It's the manipulation of energy, not the energy in your body, but the energy all over the cosmos. So he's doing this such a hardcore pranayama that he's maintaining his soul within his body, even though his body is now slowly being eaten away by ants. Yes, that's right. He does his asana, sets up in a way that, he's being there for he's just doing it for hundreds of years. He's meditating so intensely, ants start eating his body away. And they eat his whole body. He's just bones. So he's just a skeleton, but he's not dead because he's controlling his whole life force with the prana. But it's so much power that the whole universal energy systems are collapsing. You have these things happen in the Puranas. You have these stories. Dhruva Maharaj is a good guy, but he did that too. So when that happens, somebody has to go stop them. So Lord Brahma came down to stop Hiranyakashipu because he was destroying his universe. And said, Hiranyakashipu, you got to stop that. What do you want? I'll give you anything you want. Just stop this practice. And Hiranyakashipu says, yes, okay. The CEO, the big boss of the universe, has come to me, and he says I can ask for anything. So the first thing he says is, I want immortality. And Lord Brahma says, dude, I don't have immortality. How can I give it to you? And he says, oh, okay, fine. So then he consults his lawyers, and he comes up with a list of demands, which he thinks like, okay, if I can't ask for immortality directly, I think this list will kind of cover it. So this is the list he does. He says, Lord Brahma, I want A, to not be killed by any living being created by you. And since Lord Brahma created all the beings in the universe, he thought that was pretty clever. So no human, no animal, no God, no asura, nobody can kill me. Okay? Okay. 2, I want to not be killed, I can't be killed during the day or at night. So he figured that was pretty clever too, because it's either day or night, so, okay. Number 3, I can't be killed inside or outside. So pretty clever too. 4, I can't be killed on the ground or on the sky, in space. 5, I can't be killed by any weapon. So no sword, arrow, laser beam. I can't be killed by any weapon. And 6, he wasn't done yet. And 6, I can't be killed by any entity, living or non-living. So like even like some phantom, like a ghost or something. I can't be killed by anything. So he figured, I got it covered. And Lord Brahma says, okay, deal. And on top of that, like tons of extra superpowers. Like tons of like absolute power over matter and people and things. So he says deal. So you got this really good deal from Lord Brahma. So he was like, okay, what are we going to do now? So then he just completely ruled the universe. Hiranyakashipu was in charge of the universe. The Devas, the gods we mentioned, Indra and his crew, they couldn't do anything. They were completely overpowered by Hiranyakashipu. He was the uber worst, most powerful asura ever. So then he thinks he's got it now. He's in full control of everything. And then life goes on, and he's dominating the whole universe, and he has a son. And this son is Prahlad. But this isn't an ordinary soul that comes to him. Prahlad is the greatest devotee. He's one of the greatest devotees ever to have come to this universe. Topmost perfect soul. So he comes and he's already born fully self-realized. The most powerful bhakti yogi. But he's a bhakti yogi. He's a devotee of God. Because at the topmost level of spirituality, you're a devotee of God. Bhakti yogi is the highest, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Of all the yogis, the bhakti yogi is the highest, Krishna says. So the highest yogi is a bhakti yogi. He's a devotee of God. He's a devotee of Lord Vishnu. And Hiranyakashipu hates Lord Vishnu. He wants to kill him. So anyway, the boy is born. It's like those big, like you used to have even here in the UK, a while back, like the big powerful families they wouldn't see their children on a day-to-day basis. They would be taken care of by staff. And once in a while they would bring the child in front of the parents. Oh yes, papa, yes, mama, and say something like, okay, well, you go off now. And so they were doing that system with the family of Hiranyakashipu. So one day, they bring the boy. The boy's about, 5. And he says, oh, so my son, what's up? And he asks some questions. And then the boy starts preaching. Starts preaching all this, preaching the gospel. Say how wonderful God is. And then he's like, what? Can you imagine? He's like, what is this nonsense? What is going on? And then he calls the teachers. He's like, what the hell is going on here with my child? Who is teaching this nonsense? What happened? I'm going to kill you all. What is this nonsense? Look, you take him. You fix this. And he's very angry, but he says, look, you guys fix this. What is this? My child is saying this nonsense about God, loving God? No. So their teachers are like, oh, they almost got killed. So they go off and they try to explain it to him. They do everything they can and they teach all the proper materialistic things and the non-spiritual and try to no, this nonsense is God thing. So they do all the materialistic preaching, anti-theistic preaching to the boy. So some time passes and, Hiranyakashipu, okay, I want to see my boy again. So the boy comes again. He says, oh, my dear son. And he's giving, okay, he thinks it's over now. It's good now. And then and then the boy starts preaching again. He starts talking about God, and now he gets really angry here, and Hiranyakashipu gets really angry. He says, oh, idiot, what do you think this God is? Where is this God of yours? And Prahlad says, well, God, Papa, is everywhere. And Hiranyakashipu is so angry, he says, I'm just going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Tell me, where is this God of yours? Everywhere. Oh, and this is the palace, right? They're in this big palace. So they have these big pillars in the palace. So Hiranyakashipu says, oh, is your God in this pillar here? And Prahlad looks and says, yes, Papa. And then he gets his giant sword, on this giant, because he's a giant, he's probably this giant, and he just smashes the pillar. But the moment he does that, this powerful rumble, like an earthquake, like a deep rumble, like the whole cosmos is rumbling, this sound is coming. And out of the pillar jumps Lord Narasimha Deva. And he is angry. Ugra Narasimha Deva. He's very angry because he was going to kill his son. The horrible Hiranyakashipu was going to kill little Prahlad Maharaj, his own son, his own 5-year-old son. He was going to kill him. He's very angry. So he jumps out and now let's go back. Why is this strange form of Lord Narasimha Deva? Because, well, look at the rules. The rules were, it couldn't be a human, it couldn't be an animal. So Narasimha, he's half human, half animal. He's neither a human nor an animal. And of course, he's not a being created by Lord Brahma. So he comes out and they have this, cosmic fight. But of course, God wins. So how does he do it? So let's see, how does he kill them? Because he had all these rules. Lord Brahma agreed to his rules, and Lord Vishnu can't break Lord Brahma's rules. So he wasn't human or animal. And then the second rule was you couldn't be killed in the day or the night. So the fight goes on and it ends exactly at just at the evening, just between day and night. Just at the junction of day and night. So it was neither day nor night. Third rule, you couldn't be outside or inside. They were inside the palace. So the fight drags on until they're at the door. So they're neither inside nor on the outside, just on the portal, as it were. So they're neither inside nor outside. And then the fourth rule was, you couldn't be on the ground in the sky. So Lord Narasimha Deva, for the killer blow, he puts Hiranyakashipu in his lap. So he's neither on the ground nor in the sky. And then, rule number 5 is he couldn't be killed by any weapon. So Lord Narasimha Deva kills him with his claws. Rips him apart. So the claws are neither, they're not weapons. So he kills him with his claws. And then finally, they couldn't be killed by any of, material living being. And of course, God isn't a material living being or non-living. He is a transcendental being beyond all. So all the rules were satisfied. And in Hiranyakashipu, is killed. Now, that's the end of the story we have in the Puranas. I'm going to give you now some extra stuff. But let's go back a bit now and understand a few more things about this nature of God, of Nrsimhadev. He's this God of the, he's like this middle nature. He's this connection. He's neither man nor animal. And I'll show you how he has this middle function. So, first thing we have to understand, on Earth, this whole thing takes place in middle India, neither the north nor the south, but in the middle, the Hobilam region, it is said. And that's where you find the big Nrsimhadev temples. So, and the other thing you have to understand, in the avatars, in the Vishnu avatars, you have 3 animal avatars. And then you have Nrsimhadev, and then you have all other human avatars. Look how it goes. It goes Matsya, the first one, fish avatar, then Kurma, the turtle avatar, and then Varaha, the boar avatar we just mentioned that killed his brother Hiranyaksha. And then Nrsimhadev is half man, half lion. And then the other avatars that come, they're all human. So he's this in between the animal ones and the human ones. And Lord Nrsimhadev, he's on a very high level. He's one of the Chaturvyuha expansions of God. So this is a more advanced topic. You don't have to worry about it if you don't understand. But there's this concept of the Vyuha expansions. So in the Vedic concept, you have the original, supreme God, which is identified as Krishna. And then from that Krishna Vasudev, you have these expansions. You have Vasudev, Sankarshana, and then you have Aniruddha and Pradyumna. And so Vasudev is Krishna, right? And Vasudev is connected to Kurma. So you have Kurma as Vasudev, and then you have Sankarshana is connected to Nrsimhadev. And that's why you'll find, to this day, you'll find in India images of Lord Nrsimhadev with the plow connecting him to Lord Balaram. So this connection between Balaram and Nrsimhadev is there as Sankarshana, because he's a Sankarshana expansion. And then you have Aniruddha is Varaha, and Pradyumna is Matsya. So these 4 first expansions of God, which are the 4 chronological expansions of Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, and Narasimhadev are there. So that's the connection there. But let's see what happens. This is not in the Puranas. But there's this wonderful story, because then in the Puranas it's a bit strange, because, Hiranyakashipu is killed, and Nrsimhadev is still, he's Ugra Nrsimha, he's very angry, very scary, he's a scary dude, powerful, scary, and he's angry. So everybody's scared, Lord Brahma, Lakshmi, everybody's like, so they push Prahlad in front. They say, Prahlad, you must like you, he came to protect you, so you go talk to him. They push him in front. Prahlad had gone through everything, because his servants, Hiranyakashipu's servants, had tried to kill him, because he had ordered him to be killed. They tried to kill him, and they couldn't kill him. So that's why Hiranyakashipu got very scared and angry. He couldn't kill him. He's a great yogi. So they push him in front, because this kid can't be killed anyway. He's like the super yogi. So they put him in front. And then there's, there's wonderful teachings. You can see this in the Bhagavad Purana, wonderful teachings by Prahlad and by Lord Nrsimhadev. But the story kind of ends there. The story ends in the palace. So, Nrsimhadev comes, kills Hiranyakashipu, they talk a bit, and then the story ends. And you're like, what happened? It doesn't say what happened. So you have what happened in the oral traditions of the region, especially of the Chenchu tribe. So Nrsimhadev is intimately connected with the Chenchu tribe. These are original peoples of the region of India. They've been there since forever. These are the original peoples of India. So their tradition, they've been living there for, since forever, since humans have existed. Tens of thousands of years. And so the Nrsimha tradition is connected to this very ancient tribe, the Chenchus. They've been there forever. There's been nobody else. They haven't come in. This is it. This is as far as this goes to prehistory. The Narasimha form of God is probably the most ancient form of God worshipped on planet Earth. We have archaeological evidence from 300 BC, because before that it's very hard to have any kind of archaeological evidence, especially in India where there isn't much investment in archaeological studies. But we have archaeological evidence from 300 BC, which is, quite a long time ago. But the Chenchu tribe has these oral traditions, and of course we have the Puranas, but even going back thousands, just, into the fog of time, into the deep prehistory. And the story that Chenchu tribes have is the following. They're very connected to Narasimha Deva. So what happens is, Narasimha Deva is very angry. And he does this talk, but he's still very angry, so he goes out into the forest to cool down. So he's wandering the forest to cool down, and this Chenchu, a form of Lakshmi Devi, a tribeswoman from the Chenchu tribe, she meets Narasimha Deva in the forest, and they start meeting and seeing each other. And then, there's some concept that Narasimha Deva then kind of just transformed himself into a princely form, a fully human form. It's not quite clear. But anyway, so he's there, and Chenchu Lakshmi starts meeting him, and then they develop a relationship and they get married. It's a very nice story. It's kind of like the gopis with Krishna. But the gopis don't get married, but Chenchu Lakshmi does get married. So it's like the image of like the simple, the woman from the tribe developing, marriage with God. This marriage so it's Chenchu Lakshmi and Narasimha Deva. So Chenchu Lakshmi and Narasimha Deva, and Chenchu Lakshmi is also connected to the earth, the Bhu Lakshmi. So this connection between God and Lakshmi Devi and planet Earth, Bhu Lakshmi as well. This is a beautiful story. So they get together and they marry and they're happy. So they have a happily ever after situation there. Of course, later they just zoom back into the abode of God. But you have this whole sweet aspect of the Narasimha tradition, which didn't get preserved in the Puranas, interestingly, but it was preserved in the oral traditions of the Chenchu tribe. Now, Lord Narasimha Deva, not only does he have this connection, to earth, this strong bond with the peoples of earth, but he has this connection with both Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. He really has this God in the middle God also, not only geographically, but also in the middle of Shiva and Vishnu. No other form of God is worshipped equally by Shaivites and Vaishnavas like Narasimha Deva. And so, for example, around the Narasimha Deva temple in Ahobilam, you have all these Shiva temples. And you have in the Shiva Puranas, in the Linga Purana and the Shiva Purana, you have this story, which I'll tell you now, about Narasimha Deva. So it kind of fits in with this other concept, with the oral traditions of the Chenchu tribe. So again, the scene is, Hiranyakashipu has been killed, but Narasimha Deva is still very ugra, he's very angry, and so he has to cool down. Everybody's worried because he's too angry, he's too powerful. So they get Shiva to come in, and Shiva comes in with Sharabha. So Shiva manifests a form known as Sharabha, which is a form which is half lion, half bird, half eagle. And so this form confronts the half man, half lion form of Narasimha Deva. And there are two versions. One version that just by being confronted Narasimha Deva recognized Shiva, and then he cooled down. And the other one is that they actually had a fight, a big cosmic fight between the two, Shiva and Vishnu. And then in the end they were like, oh, okay, got that out of the system, feeling better now. And so everything cools down. So then, and then of course from there you can see that everything cooled down, and Narasimha Deva then meets Chenchu and Chenchu Lakshmi, and they have their story as well. So that's the story, that's the connection with Lord Shiva. So he connects from one side of India to the other, in the middle, from Vaishnava to Shiva regions, everybody's worshipping Lord Narasimha Deva. Okay, and to finish off, I'll just read to you the 9 forms of Lord Narasimha Deva, because Narasimha Deva is interesting because he's worshipped in different forms. For example, here in my altar, you've always been seeing this beautiful form of Yoga Narasimha. So Narasimha practicing yoga, very peaceful, he's not angry anymore. You can see that Chenchu Lakshmi is sitting there in his lap. So you have Lakshmi and Narasimha, everything's very nice and peaceful. It's more my style. Some people, the beautiful temples of Ugra Narasimha, like the ISKCON Mayapur temple has a gorgeous Ugra Narasimha. So that's wonderful as well. Different forms. So let's look at the different forms of Lord Narasimha Deva. The first one is Ugra Narasimha Deva, the fierce. Ugra means fierce, angry. So the fierce Narasimha, Ugra Narasimha Deva. The second form is Krodha Narasimha Deva, the angry Narasimha Deva, also a fierce form, fighting form they have. So each one of these has a different shrine in the Ahobilam region. They have different shrines for each one of these. Then you have the Malola Narasimha, which is the beloved Narasimha. This is a peaceful form of Narasimha with Chenchu Lakshmi. This is a calmed down version, Malola. Then you have the Jwala Narasimha, which is the blazing Narasimha. So the Jwala Narasimha is very intense and fiery form. Multi-hands, multi-weapons. It's like you've seen those images of Durga, right? With the multi-hands and the multi-weapons. It's kind of like that of Kali. So it's kind of like that, like a very fierce form. Jwala Narasimha. Then you have the Ahobila Narasimha, which is the powerful Narasimha. And then he's in a powerful stance, standing up, Ahobila Narasimha. Then you have the Bhargava Narasimha, which is a meditative and serene form of Narasimha, doing penance to calm himself down. Then you have the Yoga Nanda or Yoga Narasimha, which is his form here, which is Narasimha in yogic bliss. It's more my style. And then you have the Chatravata Narasimha, which is a Narasimha under a banyan tree, which is exactly what Shiva does, right? Shiva lives under a banyan tree, so it's this very strong connection with the Shiva tradition, and also kind of a simple, approachable form of God. He's just sitting under a tree, right? So it's a very sweet, benevolent, and approachable form of Narasimha. And then you have the Pavana Narasimha, which is the purifying form of Narasimha as a purifying deity, and they have that located near a sacred stream or cave, so a place for you to purify yourself. So the idea is, it's a difficult to get at place, so the struggle to get there is tapas, to purify yourself. So these are the different forms of Narasimha, traditional forms worshipped in the Ahobilam region. So this is it. This end here for now. So take shelter of Lord Narasimha Deva. Wonderful connection with earth, with Shiva, with Vishnu, with Lakshmi. It's a wonderful connection with these different moods. So you can connect, with the Ugra Narasimha, the Yoga Narasimha. Wonderful connection, very powerful. It's very very connected to earth, to this situation we're in, the struggle we're in. So I love connecting, I love taking shelter of Narasimha Deva. I highly recommend that you try to contemplate Narasimha, his story, his connection, feel it in your heart. Especially now, again, I'm recording this Sunday is going to be Narasimha Chaturdasi. It's an appearance day of Lord Narasimha Deva, so it's a especially good day for you to think about Narasimha Deva and connect with him. So that's it. Hope you've enjoyed that. Have a rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.